Reaching over for my coffee. I have to be very careful as usual. I'm in a new hotel room for this behind the scenes video, and I have the tripod sitting on the mattress, and it's very, very wobbly. So if you see the camera constantly going on different angles and shaking from side to side, don't worry, it's not an earthquake. It's just that I have the tripod sitting on this bouncy mattress. So I have to move carefully, and I have it braced between my legs over there, so I'm hoping it will not fall over. Yeah, I don't know how this is going to go. This is also a very hot room. In this hotel, this is the Mandiri guest house, Oyo 2199, a place where I stayed before. And when I first came here, they gave me a single room on the second floor, so it's kind of a windowless room. Got pretty hot inside there, and then I had to keep the door open into the hallway just to get a little bit of breeze coming in a little bit. But then they eventually took pity on me when I started staying longer, and they moved me up to the third floor. This is a much nicer room, mainly because it has a window, and then it opens out onto a balcony, and you get gorgeous views from the balcony of the volcanoes around here. But the main advantage is, you know, just having windows. I can open them and get a little bit of air coming in. But this entire wall on my left is window. And it does have like blackout curtains. These curtains here, they're like really dark blackout curtains. So it does stay dark at night. But that sun is just beating on these curtains, and the heat is just radiating off them. And I opened the curtains a little bit to let some light in. I didn't dare open them too much because the sun coming in. You know, actually I have sunlight on my feet down there, and my feet are like roasting with the sun hitting them. So it's going to get very hot in here as I drink my hot coffee. So this is behind the scenes for Friday, July 28th. 2023. I moved here from my other hotel. I was staying at the Red Doors Sharia Dean Hotel, more in downtown Bukitingi, but their Wi-Fi wasn't working for me. I was having trouble uploading videos. So I still wasn't finished with all my uploading, so I decided to move to a new hotel just for one night, and it worked out much better. So yesterday I used their Wi-Fi here, uploaded a bunch of stuff, and I got all caught up. And I have another behind the scenes video processing right now, exporting, whatever you call it. And boy, I have no idea why, but it says it's going to take 2 hours and 40 minutes just to export the video. I don't know why. I mean, these videos usually take about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Well, this is like 2 hours and 40 minutes to finish exporting. That must be a mistake. I think that clock, that timer is going to change, and it's going to end up going a little bit faster than that. But anyway, that is what my laptop is doing right now as it's sitting on my lap. And while my laptop is exporting a video, I can't do anything else with it really, because it needs all its processing power for exporting. So here I am recording my thoughts, and that is what I'm doing right now. And today is going to be an interesting day. I'll probably record the actual events of today on video. Perhaps I'll start recording as I leave from this hotel and ride my bike back to the village. And it's interesting because I'm sort of making arrangements to rent a scooter. I talked about that a little bit in my last behind the scenes video. I reached out to a friend of mine in the village, because I don't know of any businesses here. I'm not aware of any business that rents scooters to foreigners, like as a tourist thing. I don't think you can, I don't know, maybe you can do that in Bukitingi, but I don't have any information about it. I have no contacts. I don't know how I would get that done. So I just sent a message to a friend of mine who lives in the village and said, like, do you have any, do you know anything about how I can rent a scooter? And then he wrote back and said, well, let me look into it. And he said he would contact his uncle. And then he sent a message back and said, yeah, you know, my uncle knows, either his uncle knows a business that rents scooters, or his uncle has an extra scooter that he's willing to rent me. And he said that it would cost 100,000 rupiah per day to rent it. And I think 100,000 is within the ballpark of what daily rental costs would be, I think, if you get a good scooter on Bali, it would probably cost in that ballpark, around 100,000 rupiah per day. I think you can get cheaper ones, smaller engines, maybe like a 100cc or something might be 60 or 70,000, but I think a 125 or a 150 would be 100,000 rupiah, so that price seemed okay to me. I think on Bali, if you rent a scooter for a month, you would get it at considerably lower per day. But we didn't get to the point of discussing any kind of a monthly rate. So what I've been talking to him about is renting it for 1 week. So that would be 700,000 rupiah for 1 week, and then possibly longer. But I didn't want to commit to more than that right away because I don't know anything about the scooter. I don't know what condition it's in. I don't know what riding a scooter is going to be like on Sumatra. I could find out that it's just as bad as riding a bicycle, and I don't dare do it. We'll see how that works out. So I'm meeting my friend today at 2 o'clock to get the scooter. And this is kind of a funny story. I run into this all over the world. It's kind of a pet peeve of mine where you're communicating with people and you ask them questions, but for whatever reason, people will never answer your questions. They just won't. And I know that if I write one message or one email, I should only ask one question per message. Because if you put 5 questions in one message on social media, using WhatsApp or something like that, the person you're writing to will answer one of those 5 questions and ignore the other 4. People just do that, and I don't know why. I don't do that. People who are organized and who understand information and communication, they don't do that. But the average person, that's what they do. And again, in this part of the world, I find it's more prevalent. This habit is much more prevalent, and the answers are always very limited. So I was just scanning my communication with this friend of mine, who's helping me get this scooter. And in some of my WhatsApp messages to him, I would ask 5 questions. Because, I'm renting a scooter. I want to know what kind of scooter it is. He kept saying motorcycle, motorcycle, motorcycle. And I don't want to rent a motorcycle. I want to rent a scooter. And not only a scooter, I want it to have an automatic transmission. Because there are these scooters that are half and half, where they are scooters and they don't have a clutch, but you still have to change gears. And I don't want that. I want a scooter that I'm accustomed with, like the one I had in Thailand, the one that I used to own in Taiwan, where you just have a throttle and a brake, and that's all you have. You don't actually have to change gears. But yeah, I need to know, what kind of scooter it is, what size engine does it have, what condition it's in, where is it? Like he told me his uncle, but I'm like, okay, well, where is your uncle? And is the scooter coming from your uncle, or does he just know someone who runs a business? What's involved in renting the scooter? And I also wanted to talk about the rental period. I only want to rent it for 7 days to start, but maybe longer after that, maybe by the month, we can work out a cheaper deal. And what time can I get this scooter? On what day can we get it? So I have all these questions. There are who questions, what, why, where, when, how, yes, no questions. I got all these questions. And he wrote back, yes. That's all he said. One word, yes. It's like, that does not help me out because I don't even know which question he's replying to. And some of my questions, I suppose you could interpret it as a yes-no question, and he could be saying yes to that. But a lot of them were, where, when, why, how, who questions, and yes doesn't make any sense. So anyway, he just said yes. So I was like, okay, at least that's positive. It sounds like I'll be able to rent a scooter. But beyond that, I have no idea. And I wrote a few other messages. We've been communicating back and forth. I'm trying to figure out, what day this scooter might be available. And it turns out today, and also at 2 p.m. So I'm meeting him at 2 p.m. at his house. But again, I don't know what that means. Like when I show up at his house, will the scooter be there at his house and I can just drive away on the scooter? Or are we going to have to go into Bukitingi and go to a business and negotiate a contract? And I have absolutely no idea. And I sort of asked him some more questions, and then he wrote back, yes. So it's as far as I'm able to go. So basically, I have no idea what's going on. And but I'm hoping, and it sounds like this is just going to be a casual friend-to-friend transaction, that his uncle is actually his relative, his actual uncle, not just a friend of the family, and he just happens to have an extra scooter, or he has a scooter that he doesn't need right now, and he thought he could make a bit of extra money with it, so he'll rent it to me. And then, as far as I know, I'll show up at my friend's house, and there will be a scooter there, and I can pay for it for 7 days and ride away. I have no idea. But if that's what happens, then I guess I'll spend the rest of today riding the scooter. Oh, no, I won't be riding it, but I'll ride it a little bit just to get it back to where I'm staying, and then I'll spend the day figuring out how to mount cameras on it, because I want to mount my camera and a 360 camera on it. And then I guess I'm going to head off on a series of day trips for 7 days from my village, just do a little day trip and another day trip and another day trip. And I'll do that for the next 7 days. And if things work out, maybe I'll rent the scooter for another week or another 2 weeks or another month. I really don't know. We'll see how that goes. Drinking my last packaged cappuccino. Yeah, when I rode my bike from the other hotel to here yesterday, I passed by a kind of larger supermarket, and I popped in there, and I was able to buy my milk powder, Coffee Mate. The local name for it, they have a local brand. It's not Coffee Mate. I think it's called like Coffee Mix or something like that. So I have a big bag of a coffee mix now, so I can go back to my unsweetened coffee. But this is my last package of mainly sugar coffee, the local envelopes that you can buy. Yeah, I couldn't drink sugared coffee like this normally because my teeth are not in good shape. And they're really sensitive to sugar. If I had sugar like this every day, my teeth would just rot in my mouth, and that'd be the end of it. I've been drinking this coffee for 2 days, and I can feel my teeth sort of aching. They start to ache because of all the sugar intake. So yeah, I can't have sweetened coffee like this. So yeah, my last cup. Let's see how my exporting is doing. Yeah, it says 2 hours and 34 minutes to finish. I don't think it's going to take that long. And if it does, I'm going to have to cancel the job because I can't stay here for another 2.5 hours. I have to pack up and go back up to the village. But anyway, yeah, it's still chunking away. But yeah, moving here to this other hotel worked out pretty well, as I said. Mainly because of the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi was much more reliable, a lot faster, and yeah, I moved in here at about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, something like that. And the first thing I did was unpack my laptop, set it up here, connected to the Wi-Fi, had no trouble connecting to the Wi-Fi, and I just continued uploading, and I had 4 more videos to upload, and they just went uploaded very quickly, much faster. So I felt much better about that. So my mood is a lot better. 2 mornings ago, I was contemplating just dumping all my cameras, like literally just leaving them in the hotel room. I was joking about that, but only half joking, to be honest. Yeah, it's just been so frustrating, all of my technology problems. And then, yeah, coming here makes me feel better because the Wi-Fi is better. I'm uploading faster, and that makes me better. And the weather has improved dramatically. I don't know what the heck is going on, because when I arrived here, landed at Padang Airport, we rode up into the mountains to Bukittinggi, and we just rode straight into a rainstorm, and it just rained day after day after day, night after night after night. It just kept raining. So I thought, okay. And people were talking about how it's the rainy season now. My friend, Chatty, the one who's been helping me arrange the scooter, Chatty also said, yeah, it's the rainy season. So I didn't go online. I didn't want to confirm it. I didn't want to look up any information about the weather because it would just make me depressed. So I never looked online, but then Daryl from Wander Eats, he sent me a message on WhatsApp last night. I didn't see it till this morning, but he sent me a message, and it was a screen grab, a screenshot of a website, a weather website, and it said that the best time of year to visit Padang is right now. And Padang is the big city on the coast. That's where the airport was. That's where I landed. And it says that, June, July, August, best time of the year to visit Padang. And I would assume that would extend as far as Bukittinggi. I mean, Bukittinggi is just a short distance away, maybe 70 kilometers, 80 kilometers away up in the mountains. The weather patterns can't be that different up here, so it's got to be a good time of year to come here as well. So is it the rainy season or not? I don't know. But the last 3 days, that's kind of ironic too. I've been basically uploading videos for 3 days, staying in hotels and not doing anything else. And every single one of these days, the weather has been fantastic. Clear blue skies, gorgeous scenery, really, really nice weather. So yeah, the rain stopped. When I moved into a hotel to just edit video and upload video for 3 days, then the rain stopped. So I'm a little bit worried. I mean, that makes me hopeful that when I rent the scooter, I'll have good weather for tomorrow, but I'm kind of waiting for the rain to come back because the weather gods, they must know that I'm hoping to embark on some day trips starting tomorrow, and they're probably waiting for the rain to come back. So I'm assuming it's going to start raining again today and tomorrow, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. And for this morning, to be honest, that's about it in terms of thoughts on my brain. I don't have anything else I want to talk about except YouTube stories. I don't have a new video from Itchy Boots, but yesterday I stumbled across a new travel vlog, and these people caught my eye for a couple of reasons. The main one is that they're traveling by motorcycle, and the other one is that their most recent videos are all in Indonesia. So I saw them in my feed, and I dived into their YouTube channel. It's called 2 Up and Overloaded. So the number 2, then up, 2 Up and Overloaded. And I don't know this, but I get the impression that 2 Up is an expression in the motorcycle world to talk about how you ride. Like if you ride your motorcycle with 2 people on your motorcycle, you are riding 2 up. That might be motorcycle jargon, or maybe not. Maybe they invented it. Anyway, they call themselves 2 Up and Overloaded because they have 2 people ride the motorcycle, husband and wife, or boyfriend, girlfriend team, and they travel with a lot of gear. So they're doing independent travel with camera gear to record everything and camping gear so that they can be independent, which means, of course, a lot of stuff on one motorcycle. I can't even imagine it. I mean, I watch someone like Itchy Boots on her journey. She's traveling with only 1 person on her motorcycle, just her, and she's not camping at all. So she's not carrying any camping gear, no food, no shelters, sleeping bags, pots, pans, nothing like that. And even in her case, her motorcycle is overloaded. So how in the world do you do it with 2 people with camping gear and camera gear? It's a lot. It has to be a lot. But I guess normally they ride on a pretty big motorcycle. I did a scan of their history. I'm not up to date with it. I've watched all of their Indonesia videos. I watched them yesterday. There are 8 of them. 1 video about flying to Indonesia, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 videos about traveling in Indonesia so far. So those are the only videos I've seen. But they have a lot more. How many do they have? 313 videos. And if I click on oldest to sort them, they started, okay, really 3 years ago. And they did a lot of motorcycling in Africa, which is pretty amazing. So they went all through Africa, and a lot of riding in South America and Central America, and I think back to Africa, and then a lot through the United States and Canada. So that is kind of their travel history. And then this trip, they landed in Indonesia, they landed in Jakarta. This is their first time in Southeast Asia. I don't know if in their life, maybe they've been here before. I don't think so. So I think this is their very first time to go anywhere in Asia. And all the other trips that I mentioned, Africa and Canada and the United States and South America, I think for all those trips they were riding on a KTM 1190. So it's like a 1200 cc motorcycle, a big one. So it has a lot of power to carry the two of them and all their gear. And they travel with their own motorcycles, so they have all this experience of boxing it up, like building a crate. They put all their gear on the motorcycle, fully loaded, and then they build a wooden crate around it, hammers and nails, and they build a crate, and then it goes on a ship, and then they ship it somewhere, and then they fly in and reunite with their motorcycle, and off they go. But for this trip, they couldn't really do that because it would cost so much money to ship a motorcycle. And then if they shipped a motorcycle to Indonesia, now how do they get the motorcycle off Indonesia and to other countries? Anyway, for a variety of reasons, they decided to leave their beloved KTM 1190 behind, and they knew some motorcycle travelers, other foreigners here in Indonesia, who had been traveling on a motorcycle, but I guess they're leaving and they're going to sell their motorcycle, and it is a 200 cc, and I don't know the brand. I don't know what country it's from. I don't recognize the name, but it's a 200 cc motorbike, and these two up and overloaded, they arranged to buy the motorcycle from them as they're leaving the country, and then they're going to use it in Indonesia. So some of their journey so far in Indonesia has been troublesome. They've been having a lot of problems, and one of the problems is that just before they arrived, the other people who owned the motorcycle got in an accident. Somebody hit them and damaged a bunch of things on the motorbike. Not serious damage, but a lot of the lights and fixtures and fenders and fairings and things like that. And that all had to be fixed and repaired. And the motor, 200cc, isn't big enough. It isn't powerful enough to carry them easily, with all their gear, to be going up these steep hills they're on Java. They're not in Sumatra, they're on Java. But, the mountain roads on Java are just as steep as the mountain roads here. And this bike is underpowered. It's not powerful enough, and it's not big enough in terms of suspension. So with the two of them on the bike with all their gear, it flattens out the suspension. He says there's like a 1/4 inch of give on the suspension. And some of the roads, they're going on back roads, and they're very, very rough. Pavement, potholes, things like that. And every time they hit a hole, it's just like slamming, like hard slamming. And it's really hurting their bodies and hurting their knees, because it's such a rough ride. And it's probably damaging the motorcycle as well. So we'll see how long this motorcycle will last them. I don't know if it's anyway, it's a big step down for them, from 1200 cc's of power down to 200. That's a major change for them. So that's a big part of their journey. Well, to back up a little bit, I have a lot of thoughts about 2 Up and Overloaded, but the thoughts aren't very organized in my head, so I kind of jumped ahead of myself. So I should introduce them. They're an American couple. I don't know what their home state is in the United States, but their names are Tim and Marissa Notier. They call themselves Tim and Marissa Notier, but I think it's an old French name, so it actually would be like Notier, Notier, I-E-R. But they simplified the pronunciation, and now they call themselves Notier. So I guess they're married because they have the same last name, Tim and Marissa Notier. And I guess what struck me about them, I guess the main thing is I really like their videos, which that's actually kind of rare for me. The fact that I started watching their Indonesia videos, and lately with a lot of these travel vlogs, normally what I do is I watch their logistics video, their behind the scenes video talking about their trip, and I sort of scan things, but I'm not really that interested in actually watching the videos. Itchy Boots is an exception, mainly because she's in West Africa, and I want to watch videos from West Africa. But other travel vloggers, ones that I've talked about recently, I don't watch their videos actually. I just sort of like doing a deep dive into their channel, like to find out who they are, how they live, how they think about their trip, the camera gear they're using, if they're on a bicycle or a motorcycle, or how they travel, how they deal with the logistics. And then just kind of who they are as people, the things they choose to film. And I guess a lot of the ones that I've seen lately are all introduced to me on my YouTube feed because they're showing up in Malaysia, and I guess that's not designed to appeal to me right now because they get a bit repetitive. All these travel vloggers do the same thing: Nasty Lemak, Ramly Burger, Petronas Towers, Batu Caves, Cameron Highlands, they all do the exact same things. Penang, and it's all the food, and it's a lot of highfalutin praise for everything in Malaysia. It feels a little bit disingenuous to me. It doesn't feel real. So I don't find myself compelled to watch their videos. But with Tim and Marissa, a lot of things jumped out at me. One, they're real. They're as real as can get. I really like them as people. They annoy me because they're so happy. It's like no one on the planet Earth has the right to be this happy, this optimistic, this high energy, this upbeat. And it all seems perfectly normal and natural. They're not faking it. They really are this happy. And I'm like, so annoying. Nobody has the right to be that happy. And they come across as very genuine, and they do a lot of behind the scenes content. I noticed that right away about their video style. They narrate, which is interesting. I don't see many people do that these days. I don't know if they've done it for their whole history. I haven't watched their Africa videos yet. After this, I'm going to go back and watch their Africa videos. But in Indonesia, what they do is have, a day or 2 or 3 days of experiences filming all the time, but they don't present the story in a linear fashion. So in fact, they start after the events are over, and then Tim and Marissa sit down in front of the camera, just like I'm doing, and then they tell the story of the previous 2 or 3 days, and then they take the video that they shot, and then they insert it. So they actually narrate, tell the story, what they've been doing, and then when they get to something interesting, then they take the video that they shot and put it in at that spot. And then you see real video from that day, and then they cut back to them narrating and say, yeah, then after that, we stayed in this hotel, and we woke up the next morning, and we rode our motorcycle up this really steep road to this lookout point. And then they cut to the video of those events. So they go back and forth between narration, telling the story, and actually showing it. And I have mixed feelings about that approach. I mean, obviously I like it because I watched all 8 of their videos from beginning to end and found them quite interesting. So it's working for them. But at the same time, I find myself really getting into the story. Like, they're in the middle of a situation on this mountain road. Something bad has happened. The motorcycle has broken down. Marissa has injured herself. This has happened. And you're right in the middle of these dramatic events, and then they cut back to them days in the future, sitting comfortably and narrating and telling the story. And I'm kind of like, it's a little bit jarring for me to go back and forth between the narration and the real events in real time. And for me, I kind of like the real time approach rather than the narration. But there's no question that it's very professional. wow, they are so professional in everything they do. They're put so much work into the editing. Like doing that takes a lot of time to narrate and then pick and choose the clips to put in. A lot of beautiful music and cinematography. They have drone footage. Even for their channel, they have good artwork. Like they have channel artwork. They have logos. I guess they hired professionals to make logos for their channel. They have stickers. So when they meet little kids in Indonesia, they can give them stickers that show the logo of their YouTube channel. They're just so professional and so well organized. Everything about them is really quite something. I admire that. I don't know how they do it, honestly, and especially when you get into the story of all the difficulties they've had in Indonesia. How in the world could they find the time to do all these things? I couldn't do any of it. It's like, tell me to make a sticker for Planet Doug. I'm like, all right, I don't know, where do you go? Like, get a logo, for years and years and years. I had a website, it still exists, called, the Cycling Canadian, and I have a new website that I don't really do much with. I keep intending to do stuff with it, but I never have the time. And I remember from the very beginning, you can put like a banner on your website, like you can insert a graphic banner at the top of your website, your web page, And once you try to do that, they tell you, well, your banner has to fit these dimensions, so many pixels long by so many pixels high, and it has to be this resolution and this and that. And right out of the gate, I've never been able to do any of that. I just can't figure it out. No matter how long I try, no matter how hard I work, how much research I do, at the end, I try to make a banner that fits all these dimensions, and I try to put it into the website, and it just doesn't work. It just fails every time, over and over again. Like you're trying to do something professional, be it a logo, a graphic, a website, a sticker, anything. The very first step, like you're just in the starting gate, the very first step, I stumble and I crash. I can't get past even the first step of anything technological I try to do. And this has been haunting me for probably 15 years now. This has been going on for so long, and I don't know what happened. It's like a part of my brain just shut down, and I've never been able to do anything from that day. Anything technological just defeats me. And yet I think of myself as a very technological person, so I don't get it. But anyway, they seem to do all these things effortlessly, and I don't know how they do it. So that's a couple of things about them. Very nice people, very personable, annoyingly happy and positive, and very professional, work very hard on their videos. They look amazing. But given all of that, what surprised me, I think what really jumped out at me as well, is considering how good their videos are and how interesting they are as people and the adventures that they go on, the videos get very few views, which I wonder how they feel about that. I'd like to find out from them, because like their Indonesia videos, I mean, I was astonished when I saw the numbers. The very first one, 2.7 thousand. The second one, 2.8 thousand. 3.7 thousand, 4.4, 5.8, 4.5, 3.1, and their latest one, 2.6 thousand views. It's more views than my videos get, but they should be getting hundreds of thousands of views at a minimum. I mean, someone like Patty Doyle gets, routinely within the, 30, 40, 50, 60,000 views, with some videos going viral, right? I think he has videos that get millions of views, things like that. These guys should at least be in that category. He should be getting at least as many views as Ken Abroad, or any of the people that I've been watching lately. Some of the Malaysian, foreigners that come to Malaysia and do the Ramly Burger, Petronas Towers, Batu Cave sequence, I mean, they'll get 30, 40,000 views for those videos. And to be honest, most of them are terrible, with almost no effort put into them at all, no professionalism at all. These people are off the chain in terms of how much work they put into their videos, and yet 2.7 thousand, 5,000, you know, maxes out at 5,000 views for these Indonesian videos. And I find that very surprising, and I do wonder what they think about that. I think they would have to be a little bit disappointed in that. And yet, I don't know. Financially, of course, I have a lot of questions about how they managed to make it work, because I know with view numbers like that, you know, they're at most they're making like $100 a month, you know, $200 a month, maybe if they're lucky, with a, you know, view count like that, $150 a month. So obviously they're not paying for their trip with these YouTube videos, but they do have tons and tons of sponsors. That's the other professional side of it. When you watch their videos, you know, they list all their sponsors, and they get all their gear for free, all their high-tech clothing, high-tech helmets and gloves and everything. All of that is given to them for free by these companies for promotion. They have all that organized as well. They have lots of contacts within the world motorcycling communities. And so considering all of that, I don't know why their videos are so relatively unpopular. There was a guy I talked about months ago, forget what country he's from, but he was an expat living and working in Jakarta, and then he decided to quit his job and go on a motorcycle tour of all of Indonesia. I think he's still on the road. The same thing with him. He's very professional as well, but I don't find his videos engaging for me and my personality and my interests. But you know, his videos were getting hundreds of thousands of views, and in Indonesia, he's a celebrity. He's so well known, and I would expect this couple to be at the same level. But yeah, they're not really getting the views. Let me click on their most popular video tab. I haven't done that yet. So do they have any that went viral? Well, not really. Wow. Again, I'm surprised. I thought maybe some of their American, you know, going to Alaska videos would get high views, but their most popular video is 166,000 views. I think that's at a glacier in Alaska. And then it drops to 76,000, and then 10,000, 10,000, 9,000, 9,000. So all their most popular videos are in, then very quickly it goes down to 5,000. So yeah, on average, you know, their videos get at most, even after years, 5,000 views, and then down to 3,000. Wow, I'm surprised. Why is that? Yeah, they need help. They're working way too hard to get so few views. That's very interesting. I'd like to find out about that. One thing though, couldn't believe it. I started watching their videos, and they sing. I remember talking about, like, Patty Doyle did this experiment recently where he went to the Philippines, and he decided to do this new technique where he wrote pop songs in advance and recorded them professionally. So in every one of his Philippines videos, which he planned in advance, he had a song that he wrote himself, performed in a studio in Thailand, and then when he was in the Philippines, while he was like climbing a mountain, he would hold the camera and then start singing, and he would sing the whole song, and that was in each one of his videos. And for me, I couldn't bear it. I guess that's a personal thing with me. Even in movies and TV shows, I hate it when they sing. Like if there's a happy birthday song, there's a birthday in the TV show, in the movie, and they start singing happy birthday, I can't bear it for some reason. I find it so embarrassing and cringy that even when I'm watching a movie or a TV show, I fast forward to get to the end of the happy birthday song. I can't stand listening to it. Must be some deep trauma in my life because of that. So when Patty Doyle started to sing in his videos, I was like, oh no, you know, my brain, my ears are melting. I couldn't bear it, and I had to fast forward through it. And Tim is a bit of a musician. He plays the guitar and he writes songs, and then he wrote a song. I guess he writes, maybe, I haven't seen yet, but for Indonesia, he wrote a song as their introduction. It's basically like their videos are a TV show, like a sitcom, and he wrote a theme song for their Indonesia videos. And then he and Marissa sing the song together. And for me, as I said, with my personal trauma, it's just so awful. I can't stand it. And I can't hit fast forward fast enough. You know, they have a little bit of an introduction to the video, and then they start singing, and it kind of hits me by surprise sometimes. And some of the notes get into my brain before I realize what's happening. Like, oh no, 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 and I have to hit fast forward like so quickly. Like, no, 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 no. But I don't know, yeah. But then when you go into like the very first video where they sing this theme song for the first time, I read through the comments and everybody's going crazy about how much they love this song. They, you know, oh, I can't believe it's so amazing. Wonderful. I listen to your song over and over again. You know, just comment after comment about how much people love the song. And I don't get it. I mean, am I that different from the norm? I mean, I think my dislike for public singing is unusual. The strength of it is a bit unusual. But at the same time, I don't think the world, the YouTube world, is clamoring for more singing in their travel videos. I don't think that's a theme. I don't think that's a trend out there. The world is not crying out for more vloggers to break out into song. And yet so many people say they love it. But I do wonder whether singing their theme song is one of the factors that's keeping their channel from blowing up, you know? I don't know. Anyway, I don't like the singing personally, but hey, as I said, that's my own personality quirk. That's my thing that I have to bear. Good news. I just checked my video exporting job, and as I said, it was listed as taking 2 hours and 40 minutes to finish. But it jumped way, way ahead. Now there's 43 minutes left. So whatever was going on, my computer was just jammed or something, and it didn't have the processing power. So it was predicting, you know, nearly 3 hours to finish, but now it's more reasonable. I'm at 55% with 42 minutes remaining. And yeah, with Tim and Marissa Notier, I found, as I said, I found their Indonesia videos quite interesting, and it gave me a lot of thoughts, like about practicalities. Again, I think about that, and I think about that a lot, you know, with my own life and a lot of travel vloggers in particular, because I wonder whether what they're doing really makes any sense at all. Like riding a motorcycle. Like I came here on a bicycle, and I'm switching over to a scooter because, you know, riding the bicycle takes too long. It's too much trouble, and it takes too long when you only have a 30-day visa. And they're facing the exact same thing. And when you kind of watch their story as a whole, and you start adding it all up, all of the pre-trip arrangements, like arranging to buy this motorcycle in Indonesia. There was a ton of communication and logistics going back and forth, you know, about this motorcycle, when it will be available, how much do you want for it, can we get licensing for it and permits, and they're doing research. They were wondering about ownership papers because they're coming in on a tourist visa, and so technically they can't own anything. They can't buy a motorcycle and have their name on it as the owners. Therefore, they won't be allowed to leave Indonesia with it, because they would have to get that, what they call the carnet, right? Carnet de passage. It's like a customs document that allows you to bring vehicles into a country as long as you promise you're going to be leaving with it again. And then you don't have to pay customs and duty and taxes on it. But it's an official document that's relatively expensive, I think. You know, Itchy Boots has to get one. Everybody has to get one before their trip. So a ton of time and research and effort went into that. And then they have to get all of their motorcycle gear. And while they were in the United States, they got completely outfitted, you know, from head to toe with the Martian astronaut gear, just like Itchy boots. And for my money, I think they go overboard. I think a lot of people would tell me I go underboard, because when I get on the scooter today or tomorrow, I'm going to be riding with bare hands, t-shirt, sandals, and shorts. That's how I'm going to be riding the scooter, which, of course, from a safety point of view, in the motorcycle community is completely insanity, because they, you know, what's the phrase they use? When you ride a motorcycle, you don't dress for the ride, you dress for the slide. So basically what they say is, you don't dress for comfort, you dress for the worst possible situation. So you dress for the crash. Like, you assume you're going to crash at high speed and you're going to be sliding along the pavement at 60 miles an hour. And that's what you dress for. So if that is what you are preparing for, then of course you need head-to-toe armor. You know, the biggest, baddest helmet you can get, thick gloves, you know, that can slide top to bottom, you know, knee pads, shoulder pads, riding boots, thick, heavy riding boots. So they, while they were in the United States, they're getting all this free gear from all these companies that sponsor them, and they are dressing head to toe for the worst possible moment, you know, a high-speed crash at, you know, 60, 70 miles an hour, and that's how they were dressing. And they were dressing for typhoons, so they wanted to prepare for torrential downpours, so everything had to be 100% waterproof. So they're getting into the most expensive, high-tech Gore-Tex this, Gore-Tex that, you know, gear head to toe. And I don't know, I'm here walking around in sandals, t-shirt, and shorts, and I almost die from the heat. I mean, it is hot. You sweat to death, and if you're out there in the sun is out right now. Like I said, my feet have sunshine hitting them inside the room, and they're roasting down there. So putting on all those layers of gear, getting all of that ready in advance, it's too much, especially when you get to Indonesia and you realize that the traffic is so heavy that you can barely move. You know, you're just you're just putting along. And when you get away from the traffic and you're in the mountains and the roads are like winding, steep, full of potholes, you're barely moving at all. So I don't know that you need all of that gear to keep you safe in the event of a crash. And I'll go even farther. I think a lot of time, a lot of this gear is more dangerous than not having it. So, like, not to give anything away, I hope, but there's one video where it's their third video, I think, on their day 2. Their second day on the motorcycle, they have an accident. Well, not really, but Marissa has an accident and she injures her arm, which at the time seemed like a pretty serious injury. But what she did, they weren't even moving. The motorcycle wasn't even moving. They were standing still on the road. And then Marissa got off the motorcycle, but then she lost her balance and fell. And then basically fell into a ditch. You know, there's a deep ditch at the side of the road, you know, very rocky and whatnot. And then she fell. And then I'm looking at the video of this, and I'm almost positive, if I were on a debating team, I would argue that the reason she fell was because of all the gear she was wearing. It's just so awkward. Like she can barely move with all this heavy stuff on. This helmet that she has, it kind of looks kind of funny. They say it's very lightweight, It's a very high-tech helmet that weighs almost nothing, but it's huge. She's got her head here, tiny little head, and then this helmet is like this bulbous thing that just goes like a balloon around her head. And then she's got the gloves, she's got the really thick riding boots, the thick riding pants, and the knee pads, and the sliding pads and everything. So when she goes to get off the motorcycle, you know, she's lifting her leg, she can't really see what's beside her, you know, because she can't really turn her head. She's got the visor, she's trying to look out the visor, but her vision is really limited. She can't really see her foot, and everything is really stiff because of these riding boots. And then she basically just stepped off the motorcycle and didn't see where her foot was going. She can't see because of the helmet, and then she stumbled and crashed over. But I'm pretty sure if she was wearing like normal clothes, she wouldn't have fallen down, because you can see, you know, you're just more flexible, you're more maneuverable, you can see everything better. That's my thought about that. But anyway, that's not really what I wanted to talk about. What I was talking about was whether all the work and all the effort that goes into a motorcycle journey is worth it. So they had to do all these preparations in advance, arranging the motorcycle, arranging all the gear, all the clothing, all the specialty gear they need. Then they arrive in Jakarta, that's where they landed, and then they had to get the motorcycle, and they were so tired when they landed. They were jet lagged. The day that they could have gone to get the motorcycle, they just said, no, we can't even deal with it right now. We don't even want to think about it. All the things we're going to have to do, all the work we're going to have to do on the motorcycle to get it set up, to get it repaired, to put it on the road, to look into this, to look into that, to look into the carnet de passage, go to the offices. It's like, oh, we can't face it right now. And they just took the day off. It's like, no, we're just going to stay in our hotel and relax. And then, of course, they had to go through all the work of getting the motorcycle fixed up and repaired. It took them days to get it all packed and organized, get all their gear on it. It was a brand new motorcycle to them, so they had to make sure that all their gear could be mounted on it, and they're fixing things, making everything waterproof. And then they finally, after many days, you know, managed to get on the road, and then the motorcycle breaks down, so it won't start. So then they have to get mechanics in to try and fix it. You know, they're having to get gas all the time. They're having trouble getting up the roads. So much work and effort goes into riding the motorcycle. And yet, in the videos, the things that they're talking about, that they're really enjoying, the meat and potatoes of the experience, is all everything else. Like, they landed in Jakarta, and then they stayed in this hotel, then they went walking along the street at night, found a little noodle shop, and they're just so excited about being in Indonesia. The people are so friendly. They never stop talking about how friendly the people are. They're eating the Indonesian food. They're, you know, the beautiful scenery. So all these experiences of being in Indonesia that are the good things about being here, none of it has to do with the motorcycle. Right? It's almost like the motorcycle gets in the way of those things. They could have had all those experiences without the motorcycle. You see what I mean? Like, the motorcycle absorbs so much of your time and energy and money, and yet they could have flown into Indonesia just with a small backpack, hopped on a local bus or whatever, and had all these experiences with local people, the local food, the local culture, and then just taken the bus up into the mountains, stayed in this little mountain town. And so you could have all those experiences without the motorcycle. Of course, having a history of bike touring and even renting a scooter quite a bit, I can see the advantages of it, because you end up going places that you wouldn't go if you didn't have the motorcycle. So they had all these adventures, riding deep into the mountains and having this, you know, experience of exploring the area, being independent, being free, being able to go wherever they want to go. And I can see all that, and I can see all the advantages. But somehow when I'm looking at their video list, everything is mechanical failures. And then they got really sick, and they think it was because of heat stroke, because they had so much gear on all day long. They were just roasting in the hot sun, and it just, yeah, they suffered heat stroke. And then, of course, Marissa, fell off the motorcycle and nearly broke her arm because of the motorcycle. And then the 30 days of their visa is just ticking, 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 ticking away. And it took them at least a week to probably a week or 10 days just to get the motorcycle set up to get on the road. And then when you start to add all of that up together, you got, and the cost of the motorcycle itself, you got to wonder whether it really is worth it. I mean, what is your goal? What is it you want? And if what you want are these cultural experiences, is the motorcycle the best way to get you there? It's an interesting question. I just bring it up as a topic. In the end, I do think, yes, it is worth it to ride the motorcycle, to have that adventure. But there is a question there whether it really is the thing to do or not. To be honest, in their case, I think they would have been far better off not doing the motorcycle thing, but getting a scooter, getting 2 scooters. Just land in Jakarta, and I'm hoping to rent a scooter. They could have done the same thing. All the money they spent buying a motorcycle and getting it set up, they could probably have purchased 2 scooters and then just zoomed off, and it would have been a lot easier, a lot more fun, I think. I think that's what they should have done. But anyway, I'm looking forward to the rest of their adventures. I think their videos on Indonesia are about 1 month behind, maybe a month and a half behind, because I see on their community tab, they're already talking about, they went to Borobudur, other famous places all around Java. And the videos that I'm seeing now from them date from over a month ago. So it takes them that long to make the videos and post them. So, and they have to extend their visa already. So I'm interested to hear how that went for them. But anyway, I'm looking forward to their new videos from Indonesia, and I'm going to go back. I want to watch their videos from Africa in particular. But yeah, so those are my new YouTubers I'm following. Tim and Marissa Notier, 2 Up and Overloaded. And I'm wondering whether they're going to go to Malaysia after Indonesia. That'll be interesting to see. All right. Yeah, with that, I think I'm going to shut down. I have to start packing up and head back to the village, do some planning, do some thinking about, hopefully, if I get this scooter, what am I going to do? A hint, I think tomorrow morning, I'm hoping to go by scooter to what they call the most beautiful village in the world. So we'll see. We'll see how that turns out. Even I'm sure the village will not live up to that description, but it should be a pretty interesting day riding there. Should be, if the weather holds out. We'll see what happens tomorrow. I should be on the road crack of dawn. I hope to be on the road as early as possible tomorrow morning, but we'll see how that goes. So, see you in the next video.